Hi everyone, Radhe Radhe. In this video, we're going to be doing chapter Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, chapter 10. And for a few days there, I was actually thinking, contemplating, especially after my last video, that should I be doing these as a video or should I be doing these in another form? Should I just be reading on my own and maybe do something else on the video? Because this felt very long. So, and I'm just reading, I'm not really talking about my experiences, my learning the way I was doing when I was doing the Bhagavad Gita videos. I was talking about other things that I was learning, I had learned as well, and my experiences because they were shorter videos. And these feel like such long videos that by the end of the reading, I'm just done. So I was thinking about it. I don't know what I'm going to do. For now, I'm going to continue it until I have clarity about what I want to do, whether I want to continue to read this on my own. Because I feel like I'm not necessarily adding much value, I'm just reading. In the Bhagavad Gita videos, I was adding a lot of value because I was talking about stuff that I was learning as well. So yeah, we'll see. But reading itself is amazing. I know. I mean, I feel that it's amazing for me, if not for nobody else. Maybe I can do a open book club kind of a thing where I can set up a time. But I'm not very good at like fixed times, book readings at fixed times, but I can try that maybe, see if there's anybody who wants to join. I can set up a link for a Zoom or something like that where I can just open it up and whoever wants to come can come, and then it'll be there, it'll be recorded. So yeah, there are a few options, but I don't know exactly yet what to do. So I'm just going to, for now, continue to read this. So okay, let's call out to Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dear Bhagavan Shri Krishna, please help us patiently endure the ups and downs as we go through them. This is something that Sachinanda Maharaj had written in these very words. Let patiently endure the ups and downs that happen. There are some days when I feel very connected. There are some days when I feel very disconnected. There are some days when I'm chanting, when I'm not chanting, when I'm chanting my full the amount that I've set for myself, full rounds. Some days when I'm not doing that. Like there's so many ups and downs, but please never leave me, never let me forget you, and never let me drop this. Let me just keep going, even if I'm going slowly, kharama, kharama kind of thing. Let me keep taking steps. Let me not just stop. Let me not just. I mean, there's nowhere else to go really. Where am I gonna go? Am I gonna go back into the material world? I don't care for it anymore. So yeah, please help. Please help. Please help. Please help. Okay, so let us read chapter 10 translations of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Very, very exciting. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions, chapter 10. Text 1. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following. Make sure that, yes. The creation of the universe, subcreation, planetary systems, protection by the Lord, the creative impetus, the change of the Manus, the signs of God, returning home back to Godhead, liberation, and summum bonum. 10 divisions regarding the following. 10 divisions basically of these in the. Okay. Text 2. To isolate the transcendence of the summum bonum, I don't know what that means. The symptoms of the rest are described sometimes by Vedic inference, sometimes by direct explanation, and sometimes by summaries explanations given by the great sages. 3. The elementary creation of 16 items of matter, namely the 5 elements of fire, water, land, air, and sky, sound, form, taste, smell, touch, and eyes, ear, nose, tongue, skin, and mind. 16 items of matter. So these are the 5 elements, the 5 the senses, and the 5 objects of the I don't know what they're called, is known as sarga, where subsequent resultant interaction of the modes of material nature is called visarga. So all of these 16 items of matter are called sarga, and subsequent resultant interaction of modes of material nature is called visarga. 4. The right situation for the living entities is to obey the laws of the Lord and thus be in perfect peace of mind under the protection of Bhagwan. The Manus and their laws are meant to give right direction in life. The impetus for activity is the desire for fruitive work. 5. The science of God describes the incarnations of Bhagwan and his different activities together with with the activities of his great devotees. 6. The merging of the living entity along with the conditioned living entity with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu is called the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. Liberation, and this whole thing is going over my head. Liberation is the permanent situation of the form of the living entity after he gives up the changeable, gross, and subtle material bodies. Okay, so when we are liberated, we are giving up all of these material things. 7. Supreme One, who is celebrated as the Supreme Being or the Supreme Soul, is the Supreme Source of the cosmic manifestation as well as its reservoir and winding up. He is thus the Supreme Fountainhead, the Absolute Truth. Okay, so Supreme One, who is celebrated, Supreme Being, Supreme Soul, Supreme Source, Supreme Fountainhead, Absolute Truth. Okay. 8. Individual person possessing different instruments of the senses is called Adhyatmic person. And the individual controlling deity of the senses is called Adhidaivik. The embodiment seen on the eyeballs is called the Adhibhautik person. 9. All three of the above mentioned stages of different living entities are interdependent. In the absence of one, another is not understood. But the Supreme Being, who sees every one of them as the shelter of the shelter, is independent of all, and therefore he is the supreme shelter. 10. After separating the different universes, the gigantic universal form of the Lord Mahavishnu, which came out of the causal ocean, the place of appearance for the Purusha avatar, entered into each of the separate universes, desiring to lie on the created transcendental water, Garbhodaka. So Mahavishnu entered into, laid on the transcendental water, Garbhodaka. That's Garbhodakshai Vishnu. 11. That Supreme Person is not impersonal and therefore is distinctively a Nara or a person. Therefore, the transcendental water created from the Supreme Nara is known as Nar. And because he lies down on that water, he is known as Narayan. Oh, okay. That's where Narayan comes from. 12. One should definitely know that all material ingredients, activities, times, and modes, and the living entities who are meant to enjoy them all, exist by his mercy only, and as soon as he does not care for them, everything becomes non-existent. Everything exists by his mercy, Bhagavan Narayan's mercy only. 13. The Lord, while lying on his bed of mystic slumber, generated by the seminal symbol, golden in hue, through external energy out of his desire to manifest varieties of living entities from himself alone. Generated. When he was lying down, he did all of this. 14. Just hear from me how the potency of his lordship divides one into three, called the controlling entities, and the controlling entities and the material bodies in the manner mentioned above. 15. From the sky situated within the transcendental body of the manifesting Mahavishnu, sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength are all generated, as well as the sum total of the fountainhead of the total living force. 16. As the followers of a king follow their lord, similarly when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move, and when the total energy stops endeavoring, all other living entities stop sensual activities. 17. The living force, being agitated by Virat Purush, generated hunger and thirst, and when he desired to drink and eat, the mouth opened. 18. From the mouth, the palate became manifested, and therefore thereupon the tongue was also generated. After this, all the different tastes came into existence so that the tongue can relish them. 19. When the Supreme desired to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity fire was generated from the mouth, but when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended. 20. Thereafter, when the Supreme Purusha desired to smell odors, the nostril and respiration were generated. The nasal instrument and odors came into existence, and the controlling deity of air carrying smell also became manifested. Okay. So when the Supreme desired to speak, smell, whatever, then these different things were created. The controlling deity of air, controlling deity of speech, of fire, all of that became manifest. 21. When everything existed in darkness, the Lord desired to see himself and all that was created. Then the eyes illuminating sun God, God's son, the power of vision and the object of sight all became manifest. 22. By development of the desire of the great sages to know, the ears, the power of hearing, the controlling deity of hearing, and the objects of hearing became manifested. The great sages desired to hear about the self. 23. When there was a desire to perceive, so desire is basically what manifests things, but desire of God and desire of great sages who God makes manifest. 23. When there was a desire to perceive the physical characteristics of matter such as softness, hardness, warmth, cold, lightness, heaviness, background of sensations, the skin pores, the hair on the body, and the controlling deities, the trees were generated. Within and outside the skin is a covering of air through which sense perception became prominent. 24. Therefore, when the Supreme Person desired to perform various activities of work, the two hands and their controlling strength, and Indra, the demigod in heaven, became manifested, and also the acts depending on both the hands and the demigod. 25. Thereupon, because his desiring to control movement, his legs became manifested, and from the legs, the controlling deity named Vishnu was generated. Vishnu? Oh, okay, this is confusing. Vishnu is already there. Vishnu is Krishna, right? So, but maybe Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is the one creating all of this. So, which Vishnu? By his personal supervision of this act, all varieties of human beings are busily engaged in dutiful occupational sacrifice. 26. Thereupon, for sexual pleasure, begetting offspring, and tasting heavenly nectar, the Lord developed the genitals. Thus, there is the genital organ and its controlling deity, the Prajapati. The object of sexual pleasure and the controlling deity are under the control of the genitals of the Lord. 27. Thereafter, when he desired to evacuate the refuse of eatables, the evacuating whole anus and the sensory organ thereof developed along with the controlling deity Mitra. The sensory organ and the evacuating substance are both under the shelter of this controlling deity. 28. Thereafter, when he desired to move from one body to another, the navel. Oh, is the soul escaping from the navel when it dies? And the air of departure and death were combinedly created. The navel is the shelter for both, namely death and the separating force. 29. When there was a desire to have food and drink, the abdomen and intestines were also the arteries became manifested. The rivers and the seas are the source of their sustenance and metabolism. 30. When there was a desire to think about the activities of his own energy, then the heart, the seat of the mind, the moon, determination, and all desire became manifested. 31. 7 elements of the body, namely the thin layer on the skin itself, flesh, blood, fat, marrow, and bone, are all made of earth, water, fire, whereas the life breath is produced by the sky, water, and air. 32. The sense organs are attached to the modes of material nature, and the modes of material nature are products of the false ego. The mind is subjected to all kinds of material experiences, happiness and distress, and the intelligence is also the feature of the mind's deliberation. 33. Thus by all this, the external feature of God is covered by gross forms such as those of those planets which are explained to you by me. 34. Therefore, beyond this gross manifestation is a transcendental manifestation, finer than the finest form. It has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end, and therefore it is beyond the limits of expression or mental speculation, and is distinct from material conception. 35. Neither of the above forms of the Lord, just described unto you from the material angle of vision, is accepted by the pure devotees of the Lord who know him well. Oh, neither of these forms are accepted by pure devotees. 36. He, Bhagavan, manifests himself in transcendental form, being the subject of his transcendental name, Krishna, quality, pastimes, entourage, and transcendental variegatedness. Although he is unaffected by such activities, he appears to be so engaged. 37 to 40. O king, know from me that all living entities are created by Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. This includes Brahma and his sons like Daksha, the periodical heads like Vaivashvata Manu, the demigods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna, and great sages like Bhrigu, Vyasa, and Vashishta, the inhabitants of Pitralok and Siddhalok, and Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kinnaras, angels, serpentines, monkey-shaped Kimpurush, the human beings, the inhabitants of Matralok, demons, pishachas, ghosts, spirits, lunatics, and evil spirits, good and evil, stars, goblins, animals in the forest, birds, household animals, reptiles, mountains moving, and standing living entities born from embryos, eggs, perspiration from seeds, all others, whether they be in the water, land, or sky, in happiness or distress, mixed happiness and distress, all of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. 41. According to the different modes of material nature, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of darkness, there are different living creatures who are known as demigods, human beings, and hellish living entities. O king, even a particular mode of nature being mixed with the other two is divided into three. Thus, each kind of living creature is influenced by the other modes and acquires its habits also. Okay. I didn't understand any of that. 42. He, Bhagwan, as the maintainer of all in the universe, appears in different incarnations after establishing the creation, and thus he reclaims all kinds of conditioned souls amongst the humans, non-humans, and demigods. Thereafter, to 43, at the end of the millennium, the Lord himself, in the form of Rudra, the destroyer, will annihilate the complete creation as the wind displaces the clouds. 44. Shiv Bhagwan is the god of destruction. The great transcendentalists thus describe the activities of Bhagwan, but the pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features. 45. There is no direct engineering by the Lord for the creation and destruction of the material world. What is described in the Vedas about his direct interference is simply to counteract the idea that material nature is the creator. Okay. 46. This process of creation and annihilation described in the summary herein is the regulative principle during the duration of Brahma's one day. It is also the regulative principle in the creation of Mahat, in which the material nature is dispersed. 47. O king, I shall in due course explain the measurement of time and its gross and subtle features with specific symptoms of each, but for the present let me explain to you the Padma Kalpa. 48. Shaunaka Rishi, after hearing about the creation, inquired from Suta Goswami about Vidur. For Suta Goswami had previously informed him how Vidur left home, leaving aside all his relatives who were very difficult to leave. 4950. Shaunaka Rishi said, let us know, please, what topics were discussed between Vidur and Maitreya, who talked on transcendental subjects, and what was inquired by Vidur and replied by Maitreya. Also, please let us know the reason for Vidur's giving up the connection of his family members, why he again came home. Please let us know the activities of Vidur while he was in the places of pilgrimage. 51. Sri Suta Goswami explained, I shall now explain to you the very subtle subjects explained by great sage in answer to King Parikshit's inquiries. Please hear them attentively. I feel obsessed right now. I want to know what was talked about. I want to be in those rooms where all these conversations are taking place. Oh my goodness, how amazing would that be? Wish you all a very, very beautiful day. Radhe Radhe.